Chaina's Torment, Chapter 25. Kamal watched Chaina release his reply to the attacking Angels of Vengeance. His casting matched the orders angel for angel, but Chaina's were ravenous, feathered, and armed with spiked maces. The Dark Angels each engaged a single counterpart, and the terrible cries of all 6 warriors could be heard throughout the arena. While the Angels continued to battle high above the arena floor, old grudges erupted all around Kamal, and desperate fighters lashed out at each other in order to escape. The Mirari games were quickly turning into a bloody melee, and the crowd loved it. Kamal wondered how long they would cheer before realizing they too were in danger. Neither Chaina nor the Order seemed to care about protecting innocent bystanders. The crowd around them cheered, and Kamal got what he'd been waiting for, a line of sight on the Justicar. He sent a small fireball blasting past the armored visor and called, "Hey, Sparky!" The Justicar turned. "That's more warning than you gave me," Kamal said, "and more than you deserve. This is twice now you've attacked the Cabal at home. I think it will be your last." "Stand aside, barbarian," the Justicar said. "The Order will settle with you later." "For you, there is no later." Kamal hauled his huge sword out and charged. The Justicar sent a jag of lightning at Kamal, but the barbarian easily drew it into his sword. "You think I don't know lightning? We pick our teeth with lightning up in the Pardic." The Justicar hurled another bolt, which Kamal also countered. Then he had to draw his own sword to defend himself. Kamal's brass-colored blade rang up against Gobal's silver one. The Justicar tried to charge up for a larger bolt, but Kamal was so close that he bled the armored figure's energy before he could use it, soaring it in the blade of his sword. "You fight like an officer," Kamal jeered. He butted his head into the Justicar's visor, denting it. "Welcome to the pits!" Enraged, Gobal put a crackling hand on Kamal and shoved him backwards. Kamal staggered but was able to block the Justicar's sword stroke as it came down towards his head. "Is that it, shiny man? Are you really only as dangerous when nobody knows your power?" Another Order soldier threw his spear at Kamal. The barbarian caught the shaft in midair and burned it to ashes with a glare, but the distraction allowed Gobal enough time and space to raise his arms above his head. Hot, white light from all around the arena streamed into his hands, forming a swelling, crackling ball of energy. "You're done, Justicar." Kamal launched his broadsword with all his might, skewering Gobal through the chest. The energy stored in Kamal's sword joined with the Justicar's body, and Gobal screamed. The circuit of energy fed on itself, and light began sparkling out from all the seams of the Justicar's armor. Kamal conjured a small throwing axe, knocked Gobal's visor back with a wide, round kick, and jammed the axe deep into his enemy's armor. Kamal dove to the ground and covered his head, just as Gobal exploded. The combination of lightning, fire, and fury was so intense that the sharp metal bits of the Justicar's armor melted before the force of the blast scattered them across the arena. All around him, Kamal saw warriors and monsters alike cut down by a hail of molten silver. Without the armor, Gobal was unable to control the electricity that gave him his power. He became a much smaller, broken figure, draped in rivulets of melted metal. A figure that grew even smaller as jags of lightning leaped off of his body and dissipated. Kamal picked up his sword and stood ready as the Justicar collapsed into a ball of flaming debris. Except for a charred pair of footprints and a few droplets of steaming metal, there was no evidence he had ever existed. "Bravo, barbarian!" Kamal looked up and saw Chaina politely clapping. Kamal touched the tip of his sword to his forehead, a gesture of recognition. Then he pointed at Chaina and drew the tip across his throat, beckoning the Dementis down with a wave of his hand. Chaina laughed with delight at the shows both above and below his platform. On every level, the battle of angel versus angel prevented any other flying things from soaring too high. On the ground, Kamal had just revenged himself on the Justicar. And all of the other contestants were killing each other to get at the Mirari, or killing each other to escape from the pit. He had planned it carefully, but he hadn't planned it anywhere near as well as what was happening. One of the Order Angels broke free of its nightmare twin and tried once again to reach Chaina's platform. He waited until it was almost on top of him, Then he threw one of his anaconda people into their face. The snake wrapped its 12-foot-long body around the angel's wings and torso and sank its venomless fangs into her sword arm. The angel cursed the snake, and both creatures fell out of sight. "What are you staring at?" Chaina yelled at the dark angel, who no longer had an opponent. "Fight!" The angel bared her sharp teeth and hissed, but she complied. She slammed her mace into the unprotected shoulder of one of the Order angels, then followed the wounded creature to the floor as she fell, striking as often as time and gravity permitted. Jaina was starting to see why the First treated everyone like children. There wasn't a single Kabbalist left who could think and act for himself. He took one last look at the carnage on the floor and suddenly became bored. Why was he offering the Mirari when he already had the Mirari? No one but he could use it. It was a cruel waste of time to even offer the illusion of obtaining it. Chaina flipped the control switch that would bring the platform down. It was time to end the charade, clear the building and start from scratch. New Cabal City would be twice as grand as the original, and there would be no order to interfere with the Cabal's business. As the platform descended, Chaina hoped that Loquatus was putting his borrowed dementia monsters to good use. Once he had settled with the Order, Chaina vowed that the Mer Empire would become nothing more than a subsidiary of the Cabal. He may have sworn an oath with Loquatus, but it was Loquatus who taught it that oaths could be broken. Lawan's bridge was in chaos. Cephalid sailors and Imperial guardsmen swarmed around the ship, while her advisors counseled her to escape while she still could. She cleared the room of all but the command crew and Ulsham, and she turned around to the captain. "Take us to the battlefield." "But Empress," the captain stammered. "Do as we command. We will not allow our most loyal subjects to be killed by phantoms." She turned back down to the mirror clasped in her forelimb. "Silence! You have broken our bargain, Kabbalist. We have a personal guarantee from the First," she screeched. "There was to be no interference." "The First has gone south to Ephedo," said a young man with black braids and a void in the eyes. "Who are you again?" "We are Empress Lawan, rightful heir to the throne of the Mer." "Never heard of you. Sorry." "We demand to speak with your patriarch." The young man paused. He seemed amused. "Who's we?" If the braided man had been in the room, the look on Lawan's face alone would have struck him dead with fear. "What is your name, Kabbalist?" "My name's Chainer, and if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to change my mind, and then you'll be sorry." The connection broke and the mirror went dark. Lawan lowered the mirror. "The man is mad!" She turned to Ulsham. "Have you any ideas, Mystic? Can this endeavor end well for Lawan?" Ulsham closed his eyes and bent his limbs into a complex sigil. "There is always a chance, Empress, but in this case, chance is not enough." Loquatus sipped at a fine white wine as he watched the destruction of Lawan's hopes for the throne. With Chaina's monsters, his forces outnumbered Lawan's 4-1, and he had major sea serpents and an Orcan behemoth still in reserve. Burke stood at Loquatus's side, silent and subservient. Loquatus was sorry to miss Chaina's Mirari games, but he knew the treasure would keep. Someday soon he would sit in the first luxury box, watch Burke tear the competition limb from limb, and finally lay claim to the prize. Loquatus smiled. That is, he would do these things if a foolish boy Chaina hadn't destroyed himself and all of the Cabal City by now. Loquatus truly hoped that Chaina was still alive, so that he could watch his own creation steal the Cabal's greatest treasure for the glory of Mer. "Ambassador?" One of his mercenary chiefs stood in the doorway to Loquatus's chamber. "Emperor," Loquatus corrected him. He sipped his wine. "We are forcing Lawan's guard away from the mouth of the chasm. We should have room to bring out the behemoth shortly." "Excellent. Keep me informed." "There is one more thing, Emperor?" "Yes, Emperor." "Lawan's command ship has left the edge of the battle." Loquatus rose and struggled to keep his voice calm. "She is abandoning the field?" He had expected more of a fight before she accepted defeat. "No, Emperor. She's joining the battle." "That cannot be. She would never." Loquatus stopped as the chief pointed to the scrying screen. It clearly showed a host of Cabal serpents battling a host of Lawan's cephalids. It also showed Lawan's yacht, and the obvious positive impact it had on her troops' morale. "Why, that reckless, soft-skulled witch," he said, amused. This was even better than he had dreamed. Defeating Lawan's army would earn him the throne, but killing Lawan in the process would ensure that his reign lasted for the rest of his naturally long life. "Take us farther into the chasm," he said. "Oh, and Veza, I heard you trying to contact that psychic octopus. I'm very disappointed." He turned to one of his mercenaries. "Kill her." The mercenary drew his knife and advanced on Veza. She had been waiting for this, fully aware that Loquatus would have detected her pleas to Ulsham. Veza was not a warrior, but she trusted her own speed and strength when compared to that of a surface dweller. The man's knife flashed, and Veza stunned him with a sharp blow across the face. Blood flowed, but the mercenary did not fall. Loquatus and the rest of the bridge laughed. "You're fired," Loquatus called to the bleeding mercenary, and the man growled in anger. He drew his sword. Veza didn't wait for Loquatus to order more mercenaries into the fight. She ran from the room and hit the flooded corridor in a running dive. The laughter stopped, and Veza heard more bodies break the surface of the corridor as the mercenaries pursued. She pressed on, confident that no human being, no matter how well enhanced, could swim faster than a mermaid. She had been in and out of the ship numerous times, and she knew that she could make it at least as far as the edge of the chasm. Better to die randomly in battle as a subject of the Empire than as a coward on the traitor's command vessel. Veza found the exit hatch and opened it wide, the last thing she heard before plunging into the frigid waters of the chasm. "Burke," he said, "retrieve the prisoner."